Welcome back to the interview series of Centro Studi Galileo. I'm Silvia Romanò, Head of International Affairs of CSG. And today I have the pleasure and honor to be with Russell Patten, Director General of EPEE. And I would like to thank you once again for your participation and contribution to our conference, because your point of view is fundamental in this critical moment. And I would like to profit from this to ask you briefly, for the ones who could not attend the conference, what is EPEE point of view for the UF gas regulation, for this critical moment, and what do you think will be the role of training, especially from now on, in consideration of all of this?
Good. Well, thank you very much, Silvia. Lots of big questions. I don't know if I have all the answers. I think that the fact we have the regulation that's now in force is in many ways a very good thing. We now know what the basis is, the foundation which will take us for many years. It's true that, until it was adopted, and when I spoke to you 9 months ago, we were at odds with the position of the Commission or the Member States or the Parliament. In a way, that's water under the bridge. We've now got a piece of regulation. We always said that we wanted the regulation to be as clear as possible so that we, industry, my members, could immediately understand what they had to do to basically, follow that rule. And I think that is still the weakness of this regulation, in that it requires a lot of review, clarification, and also just an understanding of how many of the different aspects will actually work out. Now, in some ways, that's not the end of the world, because it takes time. But, legislation has to be clear so that the rules are followed and they're not interpreted differently by different operators or in different member states. So we can see that the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we're going to be working on understanding how to implement the regulation. And to be very fair to the Commission, that's a huge job that they've got on. And in today's presentation, it was said that they've got maybe 15 implementing delegated acts to do, some to repeal the old ones and bring new ones in. And they've got to do it very quickly. So they're actively involved in these delegated implementing acts to effectively bring the piece of legislation to life. The other aspect, of course, you've got the bans and the phase down, and then you've got exemptions, and then you've got potentially 3 reviews. So it's a cocktail of new issues that we're going to have to be dealt with. And I think that's the issue, and what I said is, we're only at the top of the iceberg. There's still an awful lot to do. And not to be cynical, but we'll probably all be busy on the F-gas until at least 2040 and maybe even 2050, because that's obviously the end game when we no longer use any HFCs. I think the other side of the coin is, okay, HFCs are going to be banned at certain levels in certain products quite quickly. So there's that transition period that's still worrying. Is it going to actually be plausible? And there are safeguards in place that, if you really can't use a non-HFC for safety reasons, you can continue. There are exemptions. But those rules are very unclear, so we have to figure out with the European Commission and Member States authorities how to work that one out. So there's an awful lot still to do. And jokingly, I said in my speech that, somebody said, right, it's in the official journal. It's come into force on Monday, that's it, where we can all go home. And the reality is, no, there's still an awful lot to do. And if I look at my members, I'm getting questions, if not every day, every other day. What does this mean? Not only in terms of understanding the regulation, but also the transposition of the languages, if you want to take the French-English version into Italian or Spanish, whatever. There will be some say translation issues as well. So I think we've got an awful lot of work ahead, but it's in a very different spirit to that when we were negotiating the piece of legislation. Now I think it's actually everybody coming together to try and support the Commission and vice versa. And as you mentioned, training is going to be key. In some ways, there's an enormous onus on the installer to do the right thing. And today it's clear that there is a massive deficit of trained personnel. I don't think, there's the will from all sides to get the personnel up and running, to be trained and to be certified. But it's a mammoth task. And I don't want to be glass half empty, but I don't think we will do it as quickly as we should be. And so there are potential consequences. So we need to be very sure, and my own members, as the economic operators, the manufacturers of these products, they want to ensure that, everything, follows the rules, because they're ultimately responsible. So I think, just to say, it's the tip of the iceberg, unfortunately, and I think we'll have many more conferences with the Centre about F-gases. But thank you again for giving me the time to say a few words of wisdom. I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you also for your cooperation. And once again, thank you also for the contribution to our conference. Very appreciated.
My pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.